Rabbi Yisrael Misalant was Kodesh Kodashim. Now, this is only a couple of hundred years ago, or a little less than a couple of hundred years ago. They asked the Rabbi Yisrael Misalant to give a shiur answering 100 questions. 100 questions, and they gave him the questions ahead of time. When he arrived, two little heroes decided they want to mess with the Gdoladol, and they changed the questions. Just to see what he does. He's going to get embarrassed. You know, it's fun making fun of tzaddikim, right? You know, you're just guaranteed to go to Gehenom, but that's fine. People like that, I question whether they believe in God. But anyway, two people took the questions and he replaced them with 100 different questions. So Rabbi Yisrael Misalant looked at the questions. He got to the podium. He looked at the questions. He thought about it for about 10 seconds. His Talmid saw that the questions have been changed. He's like, Hashem, what's going to happen? What's going to do? What's this? What's that? And he sees the rabbi start giving the shiur as if these were the 100 questions he prepared for. And he gives the shiur with all of the answers, like mamash, he's at Mount Sinai and Hashem is speaking through him. So after the shiur, one of his Talmidim asked him, Kvod Harav, when you got there, you had a delay. You noticed that there was 100 different questions, right? He goes, how could I not notice? I prepared for a different 100 questions. He goes, so what was the delay for? I said the delay was whether if I see that somebody's trying to do a big chilul Hashem here. Now, if I say that I know all the answers anyway, maybe it's midat gava. Maybe they're going to think, oh, this guy he thinks who he is. Oh, he's a big gavtan, he's a big ego. But on the other hand, I thought to myself, if I don't, then I allow the chilul Hashem to happen, and they'll think that someone that learns Torah doesn't actually know the answers, as if he's the one that knows the answers, as if it's not Hashem talking through him. So I decided to go with option one and to give them the answers, because I figured that way there's more Torah in the world. So the delay wasn't because he didn't know the answers. The delay was because he was just thinking in 10 seconds what we don't think in 10 years. What does everybody else think, and how they're going to view, and what's going to happen, and whether this is going to result in more Torah or less Torah. Now, his Talmidim were also Malachim. Mamash, Malachi Asharet. Two of them got together after all of their years of trying to become tzaddikim day after day. Every day work on their tefillah. Every day work on their tzedakah. Every day work on their limud. Every day work on something. 70 years, non-stop, doing tshuva. Yeah, but you're Gdol Ador. What do you mean? I still have to do tshuva. You're the biggest rabbi in the world. Yeah, Bezrat Hashem, I'll be a Talmid one day too. What rabbi? People call you rabbi, you think you're rabbi? First I have to be a Talmid. That's why Talmid Chacham is called Talmid Chacham. The Gdol Ador is not called the biggest rabbi in the world. What is he called? Talmid Chacham. Why? Because if you're really a Chacham, you're Talmid first. You're a student first. So these two Talmidim are now, they're not little 18-year-old Talmidim, they're 70. And they realize that time has come, Shamayim is calling. The Baalei Musar say that every time you get a gray hair, it's Shamayim giving you a text message. We're coming soon. You got a gray hair? Oh, Baruch haba, you're coming closer. It's a call, bemet. They say it's a call from Shamayim. Shtabach Shemo. The last year I got a bunch of them. Shtabach Shemo. So anyway, the Talmidei Chachamim of Rabbi Yisrael Misalant, his students, they realized they got to 70 years old, and they realized that Shamayim is calling, and they don't even know if they've done tshuva yet. So he said, listen, whichever one of us goes up to Shamayim first, makes a promise that when you get up to Shamayim, come back to the other one in a dream and tell him what's going on in Shamayim. Why? Because if we're wrong and we still haven't done tshuva, at least let the one that still survived, let him at least give them an opportunity to do tshuva. Give him an opportunity to do tshuva. I mean, okay, you're doomed. You're up there. What can we do? But at least the one that's here, at least we can do tshuva. That's what friends are for. So one of them dies, and 11 months pass. every night he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And after 11 months, finally his friend comes to him in a dream. And he says, I have a few questions for you. First and foremost, what took you so long? He said, until now, they've been judging me in Shamayim. This is the biggest tzaddik in the world. 11 months, they haven't stopped judging him for more than a second. It's not like here, 11 months passes. There's no time over there. 11 months in our time, which is infinite amount of time in Shamayim, they're judging him on every single second that he lived. Oh, this second you thought about this. Why did you think about this? Why would you spend a second thinking about something that's a little bit less Hashem? It's not Hashem. It's less Hashem in the world. He says, okay, fine, 11 months. So can you tell me what's going on in Shamayim? He says, well, that I'm not allowed to tell you everything. I can tell you one thing. You know how we try to do tshuva our whole life, and we learned, and we did, and we tried to work ourselves? Everything. We didn't do enough. The judgment in Shamayim is much heavier and deeper than we can imagine. This is coming from a person that spent his entire life, all he did is work for Hashem. That's it. He didn't work on Wall Street. He didn't build buildings. He didn't do any of that stuff. All he did is work for Hashem. And he comes to Shamayim, this is Sipur Yadua. This is a famous story. He says we didn't do enough. The judgment in Shamayim is much heavier, much deeper. They look at every second. Every second you're alive. So this is a person that believes in God, has to now evaluate himself. If he can't evaluate every second, he should at least evaluate every minute. If he can't evaluate every minute, he should evaluate every hour. If he can't evaluate every hour, can you at least evaluate your day? Do a cheshbon nefesh. You finish the day, or you start the day, and say, oh, you know what? Yesterday, I wasn't really such a good servant of Hashem. Yesterday, I barely prayed. When I prayed, it was like I was doing God a favor. I arrived late. I was thinking about work the whole time. I couldn't wait for Amidah to finish. I almost cursed the rabbi when he did the Chazarat HaShatz because I was in a hurry. And so on and so forth. All the shtiyot that go on in our head. Oh, and when the Gemara opened, I was thinking about what's the stock quote for the new stock I just bought. And maybe it rhymes with this Gemara. Maybe I was thinking the Gemara is going to tell me a new pattern of how to buy stocks. And then I couldn't wait to finish the shiur about the Gemara because I had to buy a car because I love this car. This car is my life. You know, people make their car their life. So if a person does real cheshbon nefesh, he starts realizing that there's no free lunch. If the tzaddikim were scared, what about us? So like I said,